Hey, what's going on, dudes? I'm McKiller44 here. I'm wearing these because I have a movie playing on the TV, and I didn't feel like not having the movie going while I'm recording the video, so I have it at the same time. And let's do it. So, many of you know I want to be a teacher when I grow up. Yeah, it's weird, but that's what I want to do. So today we're going to talk about 10 teachers fired for ridiculous reasons. Teaching is often a calling, and the people who enter in the profession do so for noble reasons. After all, it isn't for excellent compensation and benefits, but that's a conversation for a different list. Teachers work their butts off to ensure our children don't grow up without a basic understanding of math, history, science, literature, and a ton of other subjects. Despite their hard work, there have been instances of teachers being fired for strange and often ridiculous reasons. Of course, there are times when a teacher should be and is fired, but more often than not, those issues are over sexual crimes, and they don't belong anywhere near a child. These 10 teachers did nothing so horrendous as molesting a child. Instead, they were canned for rather ridiculous reasons. Number 10, Carla, twerking at a dance competition. Carla was an elementary school teacher in a small Mexican town when she took a short vacation to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. If you know anything about Cabo, you know it's a fun place to unwind, and that's exactly what she did. While wearing a bikini, she entered and won a dance competition, earning herself a quick $260. The dancing involved twerking and moving in a prophetic manner. The internet being what it is, and Carla being an attractive woman, the video went viral, and within a few hours, it was making the rounds online. Carla didn't think anything of her participation in the competition, so she finished her vacation, packed her things, and returned home to Ciudad Obregón in northern Mexico. Sorry for butchering the name. When she showed up to work thinking everything was alright, she was pulled aside by her superiors and fired. Carla spoke about her termination interview with Reforma, a Mexican newspaper. I was singled out as immoral, called immature and a whore. I'm not doing anything wrong. It's a dance competition, and participating in it does not define me as a person. I'm not naked or having sex, much less consuming drugs or disrespecting someone. Number 9, Monica Toro Liscarando. I'm so sorry if I pronounced her name wrong. Not that she would be watching this video. She was fired for being a lesbian. You would think that it's none of anyone's business what a person's sexual orientation is, but when it comes to a place like Covenant Christian School in Palm Bay, Florida, it's everyone's business. Monica Toro Liscarando was a seasoned theater teacher and the director of the school's plays, but on October 2nd, 2019, she was called into the school administrator's office unexpectedly. Not knowing what was happening, she strolled in and was outed as a lesbian, which was something she kept private up to that point. Oh, I forgot these things are dead anyway. That's weird. I don't know how I turn them on if they're dead. Sorry. Should have paused. Not knowing what was happening, she strolled in and was outed as a lesbian. Yeah, I did that. They told me that someone called the school with allegations against me and said I was in a relationship with another woman. That I attended pride events and that I was homosexual. That I host homosexual activities at the studio. She was added after spending 35 years in the closet, so she decided to admit who she was, and she was promptly fired for violating the school's morality policy, but only after she was lectured about sin. Liscarando is fighting the termination, but there's not much hope she will be successful. As of 2020, there are no federal or Florida state laws protecting LGBTQ people from termination. Alright, number 8, Professor Nicholas Goddard, starring in adult films. Most people expect the teachers watching over their children to be of good moral judgment, and while it's not necessarily immoral to film yourself having sex, few parents would be pleased to learn that their child's teacher was a porn star. That's what happened in 2016 when the University of Manchester learned that one of its professors had been involved in filming pornography a decade earlier. Goddard, an Oxford-educated chemical engineering teacher, had gone through a stressful divorce and turned to porn as an outlet. as one does. The university suspended him immediately, and if you search for Goddard online, you would find that then 60-year-old professor appeared in dozens of films, often with women 40 years his junior, under the pseudonym Old Nick, as that was the age of most of his students. It's no wonder the university took action when his pornography career came to light. With the suspension active, Goddard stepped down and resigned from his teaching position. He wasn't technically fired, but he knew he eventually would be, and opted to take control of the situation and return to pornography. Once a porn star, always a porn star. Allison Wint, saying the word vagina. Let me guess, she's a sex ed teacher? Nope. Allison Wint was working as a substitute art teacher at a Michigan middle school when the topic of Georgia O'Keeffe's work came up as a topic of conversation. Now, if you know anything about O'Keeffe's portfolio, it's that all of those flowers were representative of vaginas. It's not so lurid conspiracy theory about her paintings. It's a widely accepted interpretation of her work. While there's nothing wrong with that, it seems the administrators at Harper Creek Middle School will abide the teaching of her paintings, but not the utterance of the word vagina. What she actually said, as she recalled to the Detroit Free Press, was, imagine walking into a gallery when O'Keeffe was first showing her pieces and thinking, am I actually seeing vaginas here? Am I a pervert? ? I'm either a pervert or this woman was a pervert. She said the word approximately 10 times in the course of her instruction, though. It was never in a vulgar capacity. The following day, the school principal informed her that she violated the school's policy of discussing reproductive health without prior approval and terminated her. Number 6. Victoria Popova wearing a one-piece bathing suit. I'm just going to call her Victoria, was a teacher at school number 7. It's Russia, so I'm not going to be surprised. Amongst Russia until some photos of her were found online. The pictures didn't show her doing anything naughty or nasty. She was simply wearing a bathing suit. According to the Siberian Times, Victoria had posted pictures of herself modeling swimwear on her Instagram page, and for that she was fired for bringing her school and profession into disrepute. The firing sparked outrage on social media, and within short order, more than 3,000 other women and teachers posted pictures online of themselves in bikinis and other swimwear with the hashtag Teachers Are People Too. Interestingly, this was one situation where the social media outrage may have worked. When the swimsuit photos began posting all over the internet, the Omsk region government made an announcement that Russia, that Victoria could return to her job. The government issued a statement. The question of Victoria's future employment has been decided. She may decide to work as a teacher either at this school or another one. Though this was undoubtedly good news, other options popped up as a result of the controversial firing, as she was quickly courted by the modeling agency Plus Size Amongst. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Whatever. Number 5, John Maxwell, cleaning up a dangerous spill. John Maxwell was a 6th grade science teacher at Pound Middle School in Omaha, who was loved by his students. They lovingly referred to him as Mr. M. One day he brought a vial of mercury to school to show to the students how the element remained in a liquid state and other interesting aspects of mercury. One such aspect became a problem when a student accidentally dropped the vial. It cracked and a small amount of mercury spilled, which was approximately the size of a nickel or quarter. Knowing how dangerous mercury is if it makes contact with skin, Maxwell cleaned it up and continued with his lesson. Unfortunately, he did the deed himself, and while he managed to take care of the problem right there and then, doing so violated the school's policy. He was supposed to report the spill, and when the principal learned of the accident that Sunday after a concerned parent called him at home, he launched an investigation the next day. Eventually, the investigation warranted Mr. M's termination from the school, and one student reported him on Reddit. They spelled Reddit wrong. That he was working another job in a different school, elsewhere in the state. Number 4, Michelle Hammock, putting out a fire. Well, I guess I gotta fire my 7th grade science teacher. When you're working at a daycare center, it's important to ensure the safety of all the children present. That's especially true when a fire breaks out, which is exactly what happened at a Florida daycare center where Michelle Hammack worked. Not wanting to see a bunch of children die from smoke inhalation and, being burned to death, Hammack rushed into action. She grabbed a fire extinguisher and put out the flames, saving all the children in the room, and had the fire spread, possibly the entire daycare center. Was she lauded as a hero? No, she was fired a few hours later. The reason she was terminated is incredibly baffling because her boss fired her for leaving the children in her room unattended. She did that so she could put out the fire, suggesting the daycare manager would have preferred she watched the fire spread from another room instead of putting it out. What's worse is, there's no ambiguity about why she was fired. Her boss explained her termination in an interview saying, "I fired her only because she left the room. It's not acceptable, and if anybody else does the same thing, I will fire again. I will fire them, no question." So, your teacher saves lives, and you fire them. Yeah, that makes sense. Diane Tirado giving students 0% for not turning in work. Diane Tirado was a teacher in Port St. Lucie, Florida, where she had taught for 17 years. In 2018, she began teaching social studies to 8th graders at Westgate K-8 school, but she wouldn't last the entire year. In a bizarre rule the school imposed, Ms. Tirado was fired for giving children a 0% when they failed to turn in an assignment. She was explained that the school has a rule that says in red ink and all caps in the school handbook, no zeros. Lowest possible grade is 50%. Yeah, that happened in my school district too. She disagreed with the rule and was given a termination letter on September 14th, 2018. You didn't even give her the chance to. Oh, Jesus. When she got the axe, she wrote a note on the board, which she snapped and shared on Facebook. Her note read, "Bye, kids. Ms. Tirado loves you and wishes you the best in life. I have been fired refusing to give you a 50% for not handing anything in." Heart emoji, Ms. Tirado. Of course, with a story like this one, there are conflicting accounts. It was later revealed that Ms. Tirado was terminated for putting a student in a chokehold and slapping another. She denies those allegations and sought counsel to sue the school district. It's a big turn of events when you go from giving a 0% to putting a student in a chokehold. And number 2, Terry James getting pregnant. Private religious schools often have morality and lifestyle clauses in their contracts. When a teacher or other employee is found to have broken one of those clauses, they are often terminated, but even when this happens, it's usually unfair and outright ridiculous. For one teacher, it became a reality after she became pregnant by her fiancé. Terry James was employed at San Diego Christian College, and she did sign a lifestyle contract, which in part said that she must refrain from her premarital sex, as that was the school's standing as it related to living a supposedly holy lifestyle. It was all going well and good for Miss James right up to the point she became pregnant. It wasn't something she could hide, and as a result, the school terminated her for having premarital sex. That's not the end of the story, though. When she left the school, the job was offered to the man who impregnated her. That man being her fiancé, who also engaged in premarital sex. This was a perfect example of this disparity of treatment for women and men when it comes to these so-called lifestyle morality clauses in contracts. Women are often fired over wearing bathing suits while men aren't, and seeing as men can't become pregnant, James was singled out. And number 1, Jennifer Mitz, taking care of her students. The one thing teachers are supposed to do. So teachers, if you think your job is hard, just think about these teachers. Jennifer Mitz was a teacher at Red Bank High School in Tennessee who cared for her students. On two separate occasions, Mitz did the unthinkable. She helped her students when there was no other option. Her initial foray into helping out a kid who was desperately in need of her assistance came when a 17-year-old girl who was pregnant was running a high fever and had pneumonia. Mitch drove her to the emergency room so she could receive treatment, and the student has since credited Mitz with saving her and her baby's life. The second time she had a student who was very sick, she drove her to the emergency room. And because the student had no medical insurance, she paid the expenses out of her own pocket. Most people would label her a hero and move on, but the school district went another route. Unfortunately, America is a highly litigious society, which made her actions dangerous for the school district. Despite the fact that she went above and beyond, she was forced to resign over the two incidents. She's not without her supporters. After teaching for 14 years, those supporters came out to petition for the school to hire her back. But the principal has thus far refused. And I still want to be a teacher. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoy this video. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.